Community, welcome back to First Frequency of Oneness, Shock Metaphysics. Yep, it's your boy, the ball wonder himself, Reverend Dr. Philippe Shock Mathews, aka the Metaphysical Morpheus. And guess what? I got a surprise for you today. I've got a huge surprise, and I got a very important surprise for you today. And that is, wouldn't you like to know the fighting systems, the martial arts system of the Maroons? Did you know we even had a martial arts system in place? Probably not. But if you want to learn how to kick that ass, there's only one man on the planet that can do it, and that is Grandmaster Voice Rogers. What's going on, my beloved? How you been? Welcome.
Hey, what's going on there, Dr. Mathews?
Welcome.
I'm very happy to be. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
thank you for
absolutely. So tell me about who is Grandmaster Voice Rogers, and what was your journey? Because what you do and what I've seen is nothing short of just simply amazing. So
well, I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. Where did this begin, beloved?
Okay, well, I'm Grandmaster Rogers. I am the Grandmaster, successor, and highest ranking student of Great Grandmaster Reginald A. Carter of the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art of the American Maroons, and we call it Kwa'asilia Avita Sana.
What does that mean?
Kwa'asilia Avita Sana is Swahili, and it loosely translates as the original martial art.
How old is this art, my beloved?
This art, oh my God, the oldest known reference of this art that I was able to find is the autobiography of Henry Bibb, copyright 1849.
Wow.
Where he says that the slave owners encouraged their property to fight. And when they fought, the blows were by kicking, knocking, and butting with the heads. Now, we can go further back to the Stono Rebellion, where when they were trying to get to San Miguel Midel Guape down at Fort Mose, they used the African ritual dancing that they knew of and brought over here from Angola, and they broke into one of the armories and used their martial arts to acquire weapons to gain their freedom. And that was in 1740. So that's where my research goes.
Wow. Wow. This goes back a long way. So how did the art develop over time, and why just now, in a sense, and I guess I got to send a shout out to Tariq Nasheed for bringing this information to us, and what you contributed to that documentary. Why now? Why are we just hearing about this and learning about this now? And obviously you've been around for a long time as well doing this, but it's like every Black person in the world, particularly those who recognize that they are part of a diaspora, we all, if not should know how to do this martial art, we should at least know that it exists.
That it exists. Amen. Amen. I agree 100%. Well, the documentary was Hidden Colors 5, and Tariq Nasheed put me on. And it was a title of the documentary that got him to contact me. It was The Art of African Warfare. That was Hidden Colors 5. And so about almost 30 years ago, Tariq Nasheed walks into a record company that I was a part of called Get Real Records on Hollywood Vine. It was owned by Thurston Bilal, who was also my first student in Los Angeles. I brought this art to Los Angeles in like 93.
Okay.
And he walks in and he sees us training. And almost 30 years later, he's talking about the art of African warfare. And he's very good friends with the owner of the record label. And he mentioned me. Of course, he's my first student in Southern California. He mentions me, and Tariq contacts me, and the rest is history.
Wow. So where you said you brought it to California, you brought it to Los Angeles. Where were you prior to?
I'm from Northern California, Vallejo, California.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A very rich martial arts culture in the Bay Area. A lot of people just don't know how rich the martial arts culture is. And when you talk about the development of this art, I'll have to mention in 1975, I was very young, but I was a young champion. I met, or not necessarily met, I knew already this brother by the name of Great Grandmaster Bill Owens. He had went around the world and brought back various African martial arts. And that was the first time in 75 I saw capoeira, which is the cousin to knocking and kicking here in North America. And he brought back a system he called Kusema Vijiti, or African talking sticks. Now, I teach the sticks as well, but I don't know his style. I may have one or two moves that I learned back then that I kept and still teach my students.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. So what is unique? You know, I haven't practiced martial arts in probably now going on 20 years. But at one point, for probably about a 6 to 8 year stretch, for 4 days a week, 4 nights a week, I would practice with Sifu. This is in Chicago, where I'm from. I would practice with Sifu, late Sifu, Tony Roberts, and he taught us Bakwa Chong. And so I learned Bakwa, and before that I was learning. Yes, the 8 animals and the linking and the ringing and the tearing and the ripping, and it literally obviously changed my life, not because I knew how to harm someone, but because I knew how to harm someone, I never wanted to do it. It gave me me a confidence in reverse. A lot of kids, particularly, I think, want to fight because they're angry. They feel vulnerable. And then something happens when you start to practice and you get to a point where you no longer feel vulnerable. And you know what you can do to another human body, and you just don't want to do that. You don't want that on your consciousness.
And it makes it so easy to avoid the situation because you know what you can do.
Yes.
And this is what
I believe that what you do, Grandmaster Voice, is that you also teach kind of what I call an invisible shield. And that invisible shield is the people who work with you have a certain confidence and a certain vibration and frequency in the manner in which they conduct their activities in life. And I just think it creates a shield where certain stuff just doesn't come their way.
You're right. And, it's not universal. I'll give you an example. My first school was in Fairfield, California, my first building that I rented out to start a school. Mm-hmm. But my major school is on Travis Air Force Base. So I taught a lot of military personnel. And another major school that I had was on Mare Island Naval Base. So I've trained a lot of people who have taken my art all over the world, actually. And the reason why I brought it up is some of them have died in some of these wars. My students.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, may they rest.
Ashe. Yes. So looking at the landscape of where we are now as a people, particularly here in America, I don't know. I think when I'm a product of the 70s. I'm a kid of the 70s. There was, of course, the whole Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly and all the great martial artists of that era. Everybody wanted to do kung fu or karate or some form of martial arts, but something happened where that got lost, and the martial arts turned from actual reverence for the art itself to entertainment.
That's true. In martial arts circles, there's still reverence for the martial arts.
Okay.
But sometimes it's, it's heartbreaking because that's the only place it is. You have a great person who might pass away, and he's been an icon. I'll give you an example. I used to work for Bob Wall and his counterterrorism program. Bob Wall just passed in last year, and nobody knows about it. Bob Wall was O'Hara in Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon.
He's an icon.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I have a few actual links to Bruce Lee. I've done seminars with his top student, Danny Nosanto, to help me keep up and have a greater ability with my knife and stick style. But I was introduced to Danny Nosanto by Grandmaster Anthony Davis, who is the president of the United World Salata Eskrima Federation, and also consults the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art and American Maroon in stick and knife fighting.
Incredible, incredible, absolutely amazing. So my beloved, what is it that how can what does someone need to know do you have online courses? Do you have videos or something where people can go and learn this if they're not in, quote unquote, your neck of the woods?
You can learn some things from my social media presence, but no, I'm not actually giving that knowledge out yet, but that's just a matter of time. But so if you went on the Mfalme Bwana channel on YouTube, lots of videos that can teach you our style. I actually put that particular channel up for my students to remind them for promotion tests.
Absolutely. Yeah, kids, don't try this at home, even though you're going to do it at home. Don't do it outside your home, is the caveat. So who are the American Maroons to you in terms of your research, in terms of finding out about this group, this part of our history, of our ancestors? Who were the American Maroons from what you have, from your perspective?
Very simply, the American Maroons were the freedom fighters who rebelled successfully. This is the whole era of history that they actually just swept underneath the rug.
Surely.
These
I didn't know
particular American Maroons all over, man. I mean, you got them in New Orleans, you got them in Alabama, you got them in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, my God, Virginia. Oh my God, man, there's so many. Well, the American Maroons were also very instrumental in abolishing slavery because they came out of hiding from places like the Great Dismal Swamp by the thousands when they found out that they could fight for their freedom and rescue their families. So thousands of them joined the Union Army in the Civil War.
This is absolutely fascinating, because I think some of us don't even know this, but when we look at rebellion, we think of course, instantly Nat Turner, but that was just one small part of the history of rebellion. And then we think of IAT, and so we think of that situation, but we never had known that we successfully fought and won on American soil. That is a story.
Defeated the United States Army, defeated the Navy and the Marines.
Wow.
Absolutely. This story definitely is important for the pride and self-esteem. I can't tell you how I feel inside having this information just bubbling in me to just bring it out to people, especially our young Black youth.
Absolutely. I mean, that level of racial pride is the total package, right? We talk about first,
yes, sir.
We talk about B1, we talk about FBA, Foundation of Black Americans, and we talk about how great it is to be Black. But this is another layer of seasoning that's needed, that we don't have to be physically vulnerable, and that we have something that is ours.
Absolutely.
So I don't have to go, quote unquote, to the white guy to learn how to fight to beat the white guy. You know what I'm saying? Right? I can come.
Show him
He's
all
only
our
going to show me
secrets.
so much. He's only going to show me so much. Excuse me, white man.
Yes,
I want your ass. Can you teach me how to do that? No. We have our own, and so this is so important. So I'm certain that your life changed a little bit after that movie and documentary came out. How did your life change with your art as a result of the documentary coming out?
Are we talking about my documentary on the U.S. Black Resistance?
No,
Martial
Tyreek, the Maroon
yeah,
documentary from Tyreek.
Now that's amazing you asked that question because, okay, so with the Hidden Colors 5 documentary, that was in 2019.
Okay.
During that particular filming of that film, Tyreek and I talked about the American Maroon. We were going to do the American Maroon documentary afterwards. Then there was some media coverage on this guy, Ed Buck, and he had killed a couple of brothers that were in homosexual life. And Tyreek said, you know what? We've got to do buck breaking. So he put the American Maroon documentary on hold. And we had been brainstorming, and then, you know, when it came back to it, now you see that he has his American Maroon documentary out, and I have my U.S. Black Resistance Martial Arts of the American Maroon documentary out.
Wow, that's incredible. Now tell me about your doc. Tell me about your documentary and what that's about and where people can go get it.
Okay, so, well, the documentary is a piece of history that, like you say, every Black man, woman, and child needs to see this because it's about the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art of the American Maroons. It talks about these particular American Maroons who succeeded in escaping and setting up villages and towns for years. John St. Malo, just as an example, had his Maroon community for almost a decade. He was so bold in New Orleans that he put a sign up and said, "Woe to the whites who have passed this boundary." He was feared for almost a decade. Yeah, that's John St. Malo in New Orleans. But there were various all over the place. And one of the groups I like to mention too was the King of England Soldiers. Most people don't even know about these guys. And they were a group of Black former soldiers. They were called the Second Corps of Colonial Marines. And they were out of Fort Negro over at the Apalachicola River area. And when, what is his name? President Jackson. When President Jackson wasn't the president, he was called the Indian Killer. So it was President Jackson about 1817 that ordered General Gaines to come against the Negro Fort. And there was a brother, a Maroon by the name of Garcon, who was the governor of the Negro Fort. So when Gaines came around and started poking around, skirmishes broke out. And the Negro Fort warriors and the Maroons defeated them. Wow. So General Jackson sent Gaines in with warships, and they started bombarding the fort with cannon and blew the fort up and killed everybody in the fort. However, one of the greatest Maroons in American history survived. His name was Abraham, or let's see, Suanafe Tustenufe. That was his Indian name. It meant Suani warrior, but his name was Abraham. This guy was one of the greatest Maroons, probably the greatest Maroon in American history.
Wow. Wow. This is absolutely incredible. why or how do you think this history got lost? There's a lot of our Black history that we just don't know, but particularly this is on our soil, and there are obviously ancestors, or should I say descendants of our ancestors that are still with us today, such as yourself, around the country. Is this like a secret society or something, or do we have to, what do we have to do to find this thing out, and why do you think this got lost in our history?
Yes, it is like a secret society. You weren't going around telling everybody that you knew this martial art. Even some of the Africans that were not trusted didn't get to know that this was something that was going on. And basically, the American Maroons have been, they're so saturated throughout the South that they were not just amongst themselves. Like, for instance, the Gullah Geechee from South Carolina. Mm-hmm. That's who we call the Black Seminoles. They actually moved or, migrated from the plantations, running away, hooking up with the Creeks or the native Seminoles, and that's how they formed the alliance to become the Black Seminoles.
Wow. Incredible history. Incredible history. So how can we incorporate the energy, the mindset of the American Maroon? How part of martial arts, most people think of it as they see the physicality of it, but they don't understand it's mind, it's mental.
Mindset, yeah.
Yes, it's mindset.
Well,
talk to us about mindset in this, and what kind of mindset do we need to that you see we need to begin having?
Well, you know what? You got to look at the concept of guerrilla warfare. Now, I know that seems harsh, but we deal with these concepts every day. I'll give an example. The great Muhammad Ali, he used to say, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Mm-hmm. Well, that is actually a guerrilla warfare tactic where you hit and run and harass your opponent until he makes a mistake and you capitalize on his mistake. The Black Seminoles were very good at this. As a matter of fact, this is what the United States military couldn't deal with. They couldn't fathom these people jumping out of trees and hiding and ambushing them. And this particular thing for today, for you and I, never let a person know everything is a part of the strategy. They're not supposed to know. I'll give an example. Abraham was an ambassador of the Seminole Nation to the United States of America. Abraham would go into meetings with generals and high officials and congressmen and smile, listen, and then walk out of the meeting and go to make a note and go, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So
don't let the left hand know what the right hand's doing.
Exactly. Abraham is, I should say, my hero.
Wow. Incredible. Now, Voice, first of all, I love your name. What a name.
I appreciate it.
It's all in the name.
That. Thank you.
Yeah, that was divine. That was ordained.
Yes, sir.
Now, you're also, I know you do a lot with our youth, and I know you have a ministry. Is that correct?
Well, this is it. My school is my ministry.
Nice.
As well, I call myself the Minister of Defense, but I also do gospel hip hop. So I have a gospel hip hop music ministry as well.
Wonderful. How did that begin? How did that start?
Well, hey, that actually started out of, I go way back to I'm one of the MC Hammer entourage.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I interviewed Stanley Burrell years ago, and I've always loved that man. I've always respected his journey, and who he was to bring along the entire community, regardless of the consequence.
Man, let me say this about Mr. Stanley Burrell. He changed mine and everybody on that tour. He changed our lives.
Wow.
He literally took care of us. Here's a scenario briefly. When I moved to LA, I was auditioning. I just got off the Hammer tour, and I was auditioning for like different tours to go on. And when they would give me the package, I was like, well, you're not gonna put me on retainer? And it was like, well, we don't do that. I said, no. Hammer had us on retainer for months.
Wow.
For months. MC Hammer took care of us. So it was hard for me to get a job because if he didn't give me the person Hammer did, I was trying to go. Yes, he sure did. Absolutely. God bless MC Hammer and his wife, who has always been a pastor and been a very spiritual woman.
Absolutely.
Stephanie.
Absolutely. And again, shout out to the Bay Area, right?
Absolutely.
You know, you could look at MC Hammer and know he knows martial arts. I mean, you know, so we all, so it's a beautiful love when you see people loving each other at that level. And Hammer, in my opinion, he did something that had never been done before. You know,
absolutely,
for our people. You know what I'm saying? For our people, he introduced
and all these rappers
around the world, you know, and African dance, in a sense, around the world.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. MC Hammer is that guy.
So how do you
never
be on an MC Hammer tour, bro? What is that like?
Oh my God. First of all, you know, I'm of course a singer, but you had to, everybody on the Hammer tour had to dance. So you had to sing and dance. Lots and lots of rehearsal. If one thing MC Hammer taught me is that you are not going out on that stage unless you're prepared. And I mean, we had to run in the mornings every morning. There was a schedule for us to be in the gym, in the dance studio to practice our moves, in the studio with the band, to practice with the band. It was a whole regimented lifestyle out there in Fremont, man. It was great. And it left me with a sense of how to stay focused today with my own gospel hip hop music ministry.
Yeah, so it gave you a work ethic and a blueprint, did it not?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what can we expect from, do you have music that we can go and get on like Spotify or iTunes, or how do you present your a gospel rap?
Okay, so I just came back from Vallejo, California, did a concert there, and then a week before that, I did a concert here at the Black History Month Festival. And what it is I'll go out and perform, and then thereafter I sell my documentary. I don't sell the CD. You can go, if you want to go hear some of my work or see the concerts that I do, that you can go on Voice News One. That's VOICENEWS and the number one all together on YouTube. Lots of videos there. And again, what I do is I perform, and some of the music within the documentary is performed in the show, and then I will sell the documentary after the show.
Oh, fantastic. Smart man. That's how you make money on tour. Absolutely. Merchandise. And I see you got the voice cap and the merchandise. Is that right? You can get the merchandise?
That's coming. Let me be honest about that one. That one's coming. Matter of fact, this one was available for a while. It's not now until we revamp it, the particular shirt. Mm-hmm. This was the clothing line of the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art American Maroons, Quad Philippe Shock.
Fantastic. Now, what do we need to know, fam, about this martial art, this particular martial art, uh, what do we need to, how do we need to change from this? What do we need to keep from this conversation and from this becoming aware of what this is? How do we now move forward as an individual and collectively as a people?
Well, what I'd like to say is everybody, even if you don't study the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art of the American Maroons, you should be studying some means of defending yourself, because it is your culture and it is your heritage. As a matter of fact, according to Masatsu Oyama, who is a very famous Japanese karate master, he wrote a book in 1969 called Advanced Karate, where it states the oldest known records concerning combat techniques are hieroglyphic scrolls from Egyptian tombs dating back as far as 4000 BC. So when you know you got that kind of heritage, today, anything that you do, whether it be an Oriental system or whatever, or just Western boxing, you need to have some of this in you and instill it in your children for self-defense.
Fantastic. Now, is there such a thing, because you see it in the movies, but is there such a thing as being a lethal weapon where you have to register yourself at the police station because you are a lethal weapon? Is there any merit to that?
Yes and no. Okay, so that was something that was perpetuated years ago in Japan. And you had a lot of servicemen that came back from Okinawa who actually practiced that and heard that and brought that back here. You don't have to register here in the United States. However, if you ever find yourself in court and it's brought up that you have this information, you are registered as this guy now.
Really?
And it will come on you. Absolutely. Absolutely. It'll be in your record that you're this martial art guy, and there'll be a lot of things that will be perpetrated against you because of your expertise. You can't raise your voice because you got this skill.
Really?
Let alone put your hands on somebody. Well, you know how it is. If you stay away from the courts, you don't have this problem.
Well, of course, right? Yeah, let the church say amen on that. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, but
you know, when we get old, we learn that.
Yeah, absolutely. But so
yeah, how to stay
just
out
the fact
the
that
way.
they know it, now that can be used against you.
Right.
And I guess they have a whole set of laws dedicated to those who publicly or what have you shown that they are martial artists, and this is what they do.
You know what they'll do? They don't really have specific laws, but what they'll do is take certain laws, take pieces of them, and smack them on you, and say this applies to you, whether it does or not. And you know you'll have to fight it. So a lot of people, what happens in the Black community? We don't want to fight it, so we'll take a plea. You know, so I'm encouraging everybody, having said that, don't take no more plea.
Don't take no more plea.
Listen what is being said and question your attorney so that you can get full understanding. Don't let them just tell you just do this. Make them give you a reason that makes sense as to why you're doing it. And I'm not a lawyer, so, you know, but you got to know some of the a 10th degree black belt. You got to know about self-defense and assault and stuff like that.
Understood. Now, how does this work in the consciousness of, I would say particularly white law enforcement, but law enforcement overall? How is there respect in law enforcement for people like yourself? Or that if you're in the wrong place, wrong time, and they don't know you, they don't give a damn about voice rogers, and you could be a victim of that. But I know in a situation where you know you could probably die, how you know, I know this is worst case scenario, but how would you manage that? How would you handle that when you're in a life-threatening situation with law enforcement?
I didn't handle it well.
Okay. Oh, you have a story to tell. I didn't know that.
I thought you would catch that.
No, I didn't. I did catch that, but I was like, wait a minute now. Well, hold on. I'm just talking hypothetically.
I'll tell the story. And you take it for what it is.
We've got an exclusive here, family. Go ahead, God.
Yes, you do. I was 18 years old and a champion, amateur sport karate champion in Northern California. I was falsely accused of a crime. And when I was confronted by an officer, the officer didn't like me saying yes, sir, and no, sir. He called me a sarcastic N-word. That infuriated me, and I stopped cooperating. When I stopped cooperating, he said I was under arrest. But at 18, I'm dumb. I don't know nothing about the law.
Right.
So I tell him, I'm not under arrest. You can't arrest me. Oh, you're under arrest. No, I say, prove it. Make it happen. And so we fought. I broke his arm, and he called back up, and they commenced to beating the holy mess out of the voice.
Wow.
And once they got
they beat the voice out of you, is what they did. What happened.
And once they got handcuffs, the one that I broke his arm used his other arm and put me in a headlock while two had me holding me in handcuffs, one on each side. The other one came and choked me out. I woke up in the hospital with his watch mark around my neck. Now, here's the positive part. I'm still alive.
Yes.
Because they could have killed me.
Easily.
I want all the young people to understand that it just ain't, I'm not bragging. I could be dead right now.
That's right. That's right.
But I'll also say this. I beat that case. I had a lawyer from Oakland who had also been beaten up by the police. And when he came into the courtroom, the judge knew his name. And I was like, oh, this is different. And I beat that case because it was a case of mistaken identity. And I just didn't cooperate. And you know how a lot of white officers, even black officers, do this to us. You know,
absolutely.
You might ask them a question, what did you stop me for? And then they want to beat you up or pull a gun on you.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, do your job, but you ain't got to treat us like children and belittle us. Just show respect, because I respect law enforcement. I teach law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, one of the main things about the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Arts American Maroons is suspect restraining techniques, joint locks, and submission techniques. So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad to tell the story and get it out, but I want the young people to know, do not make the mistake that I made, or you could end up dead.
Absolutely.
So when the police confront you, you need to be as calm as possible, as to not to escalate that individual, because you don't know what he's going through.
Absolutely. 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 Thank you for that, my beloved.
Now, I hope I can keep...
That's incredible. Go ahead.
I hope I can keep my own advice. I hope I can keep my own advice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a lot going on in this country, subsequently the world. But Black people are we have always been, but now more so than ever, we are a target. And
targeted.
Yeah, and
do you believe how much we've gone backwards?
I know.
We've been watching these, but now we're in them. In 2023, we in the 60s.
Real talk.
Oh, let me bring this up about the 60s and about the documentary. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. Black Resistance Martial Arts American Maroon, is a large portion about the Deacons of Defense in the documentary. I don't know if you've heard of the Deacons of Defense, but what the Deacons of
Black
Defense
Panther Party. That's the security force for the Black Panthers.
Actually, that was before the Black Panthers.
Really?
The Deacons of Defense were 54 churches throughout the South set up to defend themselves against the KKK.
Stop. I did not know this. What?
54 chapters of a black armed militia all churches.
What?
That's who the deacons of defense were.
Yeah, you don't mess
and
with
they protected the marches and Martin Luther King Jr. as much as they could, and voting and all of that. They backed down the KKK and the National Guard as armed black militia. And I mention this because that's what the document, that's a very big part of what my documentary is about. Mm-hmm. Reminding people that we have the right to be a militia. That is the right that we do not take. You talk about all the cities, Oklahoma, and all the different riots, Wilmington, Rosewood. One of the main things that you find that's absent in all of those issues is that they didn't have a standing army. And that's our militia. Our militias can also help to police our communities. And quite honestly, in this country, if you own a gun, you are a part of a militia, whether you like it or not. Because back in the 1700s, citizenship required that you own a gun, which is not changed today. Nobody knows this.
Wow.
But not only must you own a gun, you must be a part of the militia. And African Americans have only now started to really, really understand it. They understood it in the 60s, but they came back with the NFAC, with the black militia, and you got the different black gun clubs now. And it's so important, and I know they're talking about gun rights and gun violence and all of that, but understand, the only way to secure your rights is to defend yourself and defend your rights. That's what U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art of the American Maroons documentary is really about.
Wow.
Time to stand up, people.
It's time to stand up. I appreciate this. My beloved, I'm going to have you come back with us.
Yes, sir.
And I want to be able to pronounce this correctly, because I'm always embarrassed that I don't have a deeper understanding of my African heritage and language and linguistics. So, Kwa Alisa Evita Sana, how do you pronounce this?
Not bad at all. You sound like my brother.
Oh, you're right. I'm doing it because I'm hooked on phonics. That's how I'm doing it. I'm breaking it down like I'm on Sesame Street.
That's right. So,
how do you pronounce it? How do you?
Let me walk you through it. Kwa Asilia Avita
Sana. So Kwa Asilia Avita Sana.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow.
Can I take 5 minutes to give a shout out?
Please.
Yeah, I definitely would love to do this, and I want to try to be as fast as possible.
Okay.
Because I owe this to some people. The U.S. Black Resistance Martial Art of the American Maroon Philippe Shock Black Belt Rank Certification. This is to certify that Reginald A. Carter, 10th degree Black Belt, official title, Kuba Kubwana and Walimu, Great Grandmaster Instructor, and voicerogers, 10th degree Black Belt, official title, Mfambi Bwana and Walimu, Grandmaster Instructor, has approved the promotion of member Sean D. Rogers II to 5th degree Black Belt. Alita Rogers, 2nd degree Black Belt. Frank Ashley, 5th degree Black Belt. And Chief Master Instructor, that's our newest master that we've just promoted in the last this past February. And he's also a high-ranking member of our rank certification. That's Frank Ashley. And then very briefly, I'll run through these real quickly. Honorary Black Belts. That's Dr. Franklin Carter. Honorary 5th degree Black Belt. Adam Lee Rogers, Honorary 5th degree Black Belt. Grandmaster Anthony Davis, Honorary 5th degree Black Belt. And Knight and Stick Fighting Specialist and Consultant, President of the United World Serrata Screamer Federation, Master Darrell Young, Honorary 5th degree Black Belt, official title, Rank Certification Advisor and Security Dog Training Specialist, Dr. Sherman Washington, Honorary 5th degree black belt, official title, knocking and kicking specialist, Black Seminole tribe member. Yes, I have a 5th degree black belt who is a Black Seminole tribe member.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Lafayette Lawson, honorary 5th degree black belt, official title, rank certification advisor, former world kickboxing champion, Grandmaster Walter Good, honorary 5th degree black belt, official title, rank certification advisor, church security specialist, and Kamal Hannibal, honorary 5th degree black belt, official title, healing massage warrior, rank certification advisor, and security specialist. Mike Morales, 2nd degree black belt. 1st degree black belts, real quick, are Isaac Carter, Raymond Robinson, Thurston Bilal, official title, Minister of Holistic Nutrition, Ambassador to the Continent of Africa, Rashid Wedlow, Khalid Kanoli, Jonathan Baruch, Albert Vidal Jordan, Isa Cordoba Soto, Eli Heimpor, Artem Tommy Sestiski, Michael Kasablian, Alex Soto, Mario and Claudia Solorzano, Brian, Nick, and Mikhail, and color belt self-defense instructors would go to Tamara Lucid, purple belt, and Salima Shakir, green belt. And I'd like to give them all a hand for their promotion in the U.S. Black Traditions Martial Art of the American Maroons. Kwasilia Vixana, you guys deserve it. Congratulations. I'm honored to have you as a part of the organization and to have you on this high level to help me with the organization.
Fantastic, fantastic. Ashe, Ashe, and Ashe. My brother, I would love to have you come back and then we can, get into more nitty gritty now that we have an establishment of what this is, why it's important, what we need to do moving forward. But I really want to talk to you about mindset and what it means to be the mindset of a warrior. And that's Absolutely. What we need to get again. You said something very prophetic in that we're back in the 60s again, are we not? And I don't think a lot of people have caught on. I don't think a lot of people have caught that we are back in.
Do you remember what our parents used to tell us? To know your history, or you are destined to repeat it.
That's right. That's right.
That's what's happening.
That is exactly.
It's happening right in front of our face.
That is exactly correct. That is exactly correct. So how can people? What are your socials? How can people get in contact with you? I'm going to have for the family descriptions. At the description be all of your links and everything. But what are you working on currently, and how can people get in contact with you?
Okay, so if you want to purchase the documentary, the U.S. Black Traditions Martial Art American Maroon documentary, you can go to voicerogers@gmail.com, or you can check your local Black bookstore. You can find me at Voice Rogers on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And again on YouTube at Voice News One. That's VOICENEWS and the number 1 altogether on YouTube.
Fantastic. My beloved, thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I'm honored by you.
Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, it's been a blast, man. I've been trying to get you on for the longest, and I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to do it.
Well, I appreciate you and look forward to coming and talking with you again. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. All right, family. We'll see you next time on First Frequency of One.
God bless.
Shock Metaphysics. Hotep, my king.